Thank you for joining us for another episode of Coffee with Doc. I'm having iced tea. Well, it's the Arnold Palmer version of Element. So if you want a little extra salt and a little bit of caffeine, 50 milligrams of caffeine, this might be the way to go. Today, we're not talking about that. We're here to talk about CGM, continuous glucose monitoring. So I have Paige here for our newest episode, episode 48. And we're going to talk about continuous glucose monitoring, what it is, how we can utilize it to help you with your weight loss or body composition improvement goals, and kind of go from there. We're going to do a little practical application with it. So show you how easy it is to apply, painless. We're going to also have some videos kind of showing you the app so you can understand the app and kind of the data that you're going to get. So without further ado, Paige Sandgren.
Hello. So I have previously worn one for the last 2 weeks. It just came off a couple days ago. So I have all the data from that. But basically...
Wait, you said it came off. Does that mean it popped off all by itself after 2 weeks, or you have to...
I had to have it taken off because I had my blood pressure taken. So,
okay.
Yeah, my triceps are too big. That's fine.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. So basically what it is it's basically a sensor like this, and it just sticks on the back of your arm, your tricep right here for 2 weeks straight. Can't even feel it. And I have phobia of needles, so I can attest to, if I can do it, you can do it. But the cool part is it connects to an app. So it continuously monitors any glucose spikes in your blood. Well, in the interstitial fluid, technically, of, the fat. And so within minutes, how any certain food or any stress or any activity affects your blood sugar levels.
So let's talk about what you noticed.
Yeah. So I, as a professional bodybuilder, am very lean. I like to stay lean year-round for health purposes, but my insulin sensitivity is excellent, almost too good. So I realize sometimes I do get lightheaded in workouts and whatnot, and I thought, I was just pushing myself that hard, but my levels were dropping so much so to the point where I would get lightheaded and I could have passed out. They got down to 50.
Oh, so you were getting hypoglycemic.
Yeah.
And you never knew this before.
And I don't even, I don't take insulin. I don't do anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Just from your own metabolic efficiency per se, right?
I just thought I was getting burned out and feeling more tired than usual. And
well, that's really cool insight.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
I added an intra workout back in, started eating more. I basically doubled the carbohydrates of pre-workout, and I feel so much better.
So do you add maybe dextrose to your water while you're training?
Yeah, I highly branched cyclic dextrin is usually the easiest thing to do.
Okay.
But yeah, any kind of that, and because my insulin sensitivity is so great, I can get away with things like candy and whatnot. And I did an experiment. I experimented the whole time, essentially. But the first experiment I did, which was the big one, was I ate an entire bag, a family-sized bag of sour Skittles for breakfast and a protein shake with it.
Oh, good.
And normally when I wake up...
You got your protein in.
Yeah. Okay. I always have to have protein. So my levels were usually 68 when I wake up, my fasting. And then they shot, after both of those things, they shot up within 30 minutes to about 170. And then within 30 minutes later, they shot right back down to 60.
Did you feel that crash?
I did. I felt it on the way up and on the way down. And it felt like a slight hot flash, almost. Wasn't necessarily bad, but there was a point where you did feel ideal at the 100-ish mark. And then it started to go down again. But I'm used to running low. So, but it helps people optimize, because some people, especially if they're on GLP-1s or they, they are trying to cut their carbohydrates, or they just don't know which foods will help them feel better pre-workout and whatnot. It's just really cool to see, because everyone's different. There's no two people are going to have the same response to
any particular food.
Right.
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 Yeah. But it's interesting because what we do here day in and day out,
Yeah.
a lot of the information that we know that we kind of feel is elementary, a lot of the public doesn't know.
Right.
Most, I would say there's a vast majority of people that don't understand that carbohydrates are complex sugars. And so people just go, well, if it's not sweet, therefore it's not sugar. So it's probably good for me. So rice is good for me. It's a grain, it's natural. No, rice, you get 150 grams of rice. It's like a lot of carbohydrates in there, right? And so there's a lot of sugar that you don't taste as it's sweet, but as it gets broken down. So those complex carbohydrates, way I heard it was kind of is like they're holding hands. And as the body breaks that down with amylase and lipase, primarily amylase, it breaks that handhold and now and it's two glucose molecules or two, right? And it breaks that and starts to free them up. And now they are free glucose molecules, and that's what goes in the cell. And that's what we're measuring. When we measure blood sugar, we're measuring blood glucose. So your table sugar is a fructose and a glucose put together, right? So that's why it's sweet. It's more because of the fructose. That's why fruits are sweet, because of the fructose. When we're talking about glucose. And so there's a difference between fruit sugar, fructose, and glucose. And then metabolically, there's differences in them. Because one raises insulin, the other doesn't. So fructose doesn't raise insulin. You don't get an insulin response. And that's one of the dangers of things like high fructose corn syrup. It's very sweet, doesn't give you the insulin response, but you therefore can develop insulin resistance much easier. It's counterintuitive. That's kind of how it works. So I didn't mean to kind of take that, but it's important because most people don't understand what carbohydrates are, and in that all carbohydrates are essentially sugar in their rawest form when they get broken down in the system. And so something like this can give you an indication. So, when I eat rice, what happens to my blood sugar? Especially if you're a type 2 diabetic, these are things that you should know. But even people with mild insulin resistance, you need to know this information to prevent the progression into type 2 diabetes. And now you go, well, Paige is a professional bodybuilder. Why the hell would she do it? She doesn't have any problem with her blood sugar. No, but she wants that data to know, when I eat this, how does it affect my blood glucose? We just heard that it was an epiphany to her that when she was working out, she was getting hypoglycemic. Her blood sugar's down into the 50s. That's pretty freaking low, right? And that was why she was lightheaded. And to her, she was thinking, well, maybe it's my blood pressure's off, or maybe I'm just overtrained or a little fatigued. Mm-hmm. Now she knows, and now she can make some adjustments to her training pre-meal, during your training. That's one of the questions I asked is like, hey, can we add something to your water or your fluids while you're training to prevent that crash? Because remember this, and this is important. If you're trying to build muscle, insulin is the most anabolic hormone. There are professional bodybuilders that use insulin to put on muscle size, right? With a CGM, you can manipulate your insulin at the right time without having to use an exogenous source and then not put yourself in potential danger of getting hypoglycemic. And so you can add glucose to your system while you're training, monitoring your blood glucose continuously, know what the right dose is for you while you're training, and it maintains that insulin, so you're staying anabolic when you're supposed to be anabolic versus going completely catabolic.
And I think that's when I first started bodybuilding in 2016, 2018, and competing. I would do that. I was trying to stay as healthy as possible and take as few things as possible. I did not even want to touch insulin growth hormone. And so what I did was get the natural response. And so I would eat gummy worms and gummy bears and things like that. But I would also counteract it other times of the day with fiber. so that you know you are still getting the health benefits of that. You can't just eat candy all day long, but it's well, you can, but it's
No,
not.
I was just laughing
Not.
'cause I thought of somebody that,
Yeah. But essentially, you're right. I was doing that. But if I now know to tweak that before I crash, after I would add in a more complex carbohydrate, maybe the second half, instead of eating a whole bag of just Skittles, you eat another source that's a little bit more fibrous, and then protein, of course, too, which helps to blunt the response. Because glycemic index in general, unless you're just eating a single food each time, it doesn't really apply because it's a combination of foods. So you can see how a meal, how your body responds to a meal, not just individual.
So glycemic index versus glycemic load,
Yeah.
right? There's a difference.
Yeah. But as long as so the studies, from what I've seen, as long as the calories are equated for, the proteins equated for, and the fibers equated for in one day, there's really no difference in fat loss as far as, the different spikes in the glycemics, as long as the average under the curve is the same.
Okay.
So, I don't know if that answers your question directly or not, but, yeah, so I don't, another interesting epiphany though that I had to, I drink obviously a lot of water, everyone should, but as a bodybuilder, you have to. And I put Crystal Light, so artificial sweeteners, in my water every single day, and zero spikes, zero effect on it. And I know maybe some people it does affect. It might.
Now, and pardon me for not knowing, and I'm sure you do, what is the sweetener that's in Crystal Light?
I should know this. That's probably
Don't know. Okay.
aspartame, sucralose.
Okay.
But you'd have to drink so much of it in one sitting, you get water poisoning for negative side effects.
Well, I'm just asking just kind of what it was.
Yeah.
Because like for the element,
Yeah.
it's stevia or stevia,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call
Pretty
it.
sure it's
But, so that's why I'm asking just for,
yeah.
I
think they do make them out with, there is the stevia option. But I mean, I've experimented with that too myself, and there's no difference that I've noticed. But other people who are not as sensitive to insulin might have different responses, and that's why this is a good experiment. And it turns it into like a game, which holds you accountable too. Because I was opening my app, and you track your food, obviously, so you can see when you ate and what it was and how far the spike happened, and then how long it took for it to come back down.
So when you track your food, what you just inputting this many ounces of whatever. So for the average person, they're not gonna like, I don't know how many ounces this piece of chicken is, or
well, it doesn't have to be even the amount. You can just say medium burrito, or
okay,
and then at least
it's going to give you a rough idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then even stressful events. So I unfortunately I crashed on my longboard not too long ago, and that trauma and stress even made it spike.
Okay.
Which was interesting.
Yeah. So you got to see what adrenaline does to your blood sugar.
Yes.
Which we know physiologically, but it was kind of probably pretty cool to see it in real time.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
well, not when it happened, but yeah.
Well,
afterwards.
Right. Yeah. On the dorky scientific side, after you recover, making sure that you're not dead and you haven't broken anything.
Right.
Right. And you go, oh, well, look at that.
Yeah. But just think of how many people are in, stressful work environments day to day. They don't get enough sleep. That's all affecting it. You can see your levels too when you wake up in the morning, if they spiked at all when you were sleeping.
Oh.
And yeah, so that's valuable information too. And also, if you wake up and snack in the middle of the night, which we know usually is not ideal for fat loss, you can see how much of a difference that makes when you cut that out. All right, so we are going to apply the continuous glucose monitor on Karen here. It's called Lingo. It will stay on for 2 weeks straight. And it's very easy application. Goes right in the back of her arm, her tricep. Peel this back. And it is waterproof, but we do put this little sticky thing over it. Just make sure that if you're working out, sweat and everything, does not take it off. Now it's ready for application. Ready? All right, that's it.
It didn't hurt. I didn't feel a thing.
Technically, you're supposed to apply a little pressure for 10 seconds, but we're just gonna put this guy over top. And then you connect it to the app on her phone, and then it just takes like an hour to calibrate. And then after that, for 2 weeks straight, you have, anytime you open the app, you can see exactly how much, where your glucose is and any spikes and everything. So, yeah. So make sure you do the gloves on. Cheat a little bit. Okay. I just washed my hands, I promise. Okay.
Ooh,
There you go.
cool.
And I'll give you some extra, so if you want, you can always just replace them.
Some here.
Yeah. So that's it. You're welcome.
Hey, thanks for being involved. I mean, it's pretty cool because the other thing is it gives, I mean, when we use some of these peptides to encourage growth hormone production, we want that blood sugar low at nighttime in order for that to work. Why? Because growth hormone and insulin are inversely proportional. So, I mean, I had a patient tell me, well, I love to eat a bowl of cereal every night before bed. And he was trying to optimize it. I'm like, buddy, you're killing it because your blood sugar is going up. And when you're supposed to be producing growth hormone, you're not. So just stop that. And he did. And he's like, oh, wait, I don't need a peptide or growth hormone. I just had to fix that problem. And it allowed for his body to produce a little bit more growth hormone. But for the folks that, are utilizing peptides, and especially the peptides that encourage the endogenous production of growth hormone, if you go to bed and you have high insulin, it isn't going to work.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
driving with a handbrake on.
Yeah,
It's not gonna work.
100%. Yeah, driving with a handbrake, right? Only difference is you're not going to smell the brakes burning, right? So take the freaking handbrake off, So something like this, you can ensure that, hey, I ate dinner 3 hours ago. My blood sugar is good. I'm good. I ate dinner 3 hours ago. Maybe it was too much carbs. My blood sugar is not good. Doing the dose of this at this time isn't going to be good. Maybe I need to wait an hour or something along those lines. You're spending money to get a result. Make sure that you're doing it as objectively as possible to ensure you get the best results. Just yet another tool.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize too that not every spike is bad. Like you said, it's anabolic. Insulin is anabolic by nature. And so when I, a long time ago, overcame, binge eating issues, that's why I incorporate so much psychology into the nutrition that I coach people with here and patients and whatnot. But a long time ago, I had a really tough time wrapping my head around, okay, I can eat carbs. It's going to help me with my workouts. I don't have to worry about gaining body fat from one banana. And I had to wrap my head around that by thinking, okay, well, if you have a lock and key, it opens up the cell doors essentially on your fat for storage, but also on the muscle to shuttle the nutrients in to recover.
Yeah.
To get all those amino acids and everything.
It's a co-transporter. It's bringing in glucose. It's also bringing in protein at the right time.
Right.
And so that's why the timing of your insulin spike is integral. If you're getting insulin spikes throughout the day, like all the time, yeah, you're going to grow. But if you're not training the muscle, well, what's going to grow is the adipose tissue. Mm-hmm. So, timing it appropriately. I mean, I've heard it, and I don't know how true this is. Maybe you can shed some light on it, but
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that, we don't really need carbohydrates unless, just right after training or some window therein when you're in that quote unquote anabolic window. That's when you want to kind of refeed the muscle with carbohydrate, maybe a little bit beforehand or during, just depending on your physiology, right?
Yeah, I think it's largely independent of the person because some people like me who have, insulin sensitivity is very sensitive. It's not quite as important, but other people, It would be. And also, you're very unlikely to deplete all of your glycogen, including what's stored in the liver, in one workout. So a lot of people think, oh, I need to eat back all of these carbs the whole day, the whole rest of the night. And you don't really. And another red flag too is if you wake up and you're resting, if it's already just from not eating anything in the morning, if it's at like 100 or 120, you probably don't need carbs in the morning because your insulin sensitivity is A, not great, B, probably need to lose body fat, which will help that, and C, you just don't need the extra because your body is still.
Well, it's gonna produce it if it needs it.
Yeah, that's
In that scenario, if it's that high, just
Yeah.
my thought would be that that's the liver kind of dumping its store
Mhm.
and maybe even improving fat metabolism in the liver first, right?
Yeah.
If you have a little fatty liver, but
Yeah.
or the other thing it could be is upregulation of the adrenal hormones when you wake up. It's like you said, that stress.
Yeah.
So some people that, I always say, when you wake up, if you wake up easy or do you wake up in a panic? Like, that is that cortisol stress response, and that can spike your blood sugar as well. I think it's called the dawn effect.
Yeah.
Right.
And my body, if I let it, would just continue sleeping probably forever. So,
Yeah, that's not.
well, I mean, I wake up, but I'm just saying, I don't wake up in that, I don't have an extreme response, which correlates with my lower levels naturally when I'm awake, if that is correct in your theory. But, yeah, the really cool part though, just in general, is looking at the app and going back and looking at like the patterns over time, because the trend's important over time, because the scale tells you what has happened, but this tells you what is happening. And this is going to dictate over time what has happened. So,
All right. So we talked about like, kind of what your results were, kind of what you've seen for yourself. How would you utilize this with a patient in, the different scenarios? Looking to lose weight, we've got patients that are insulin resistant,
Right.
So
if depending on their blood work results, if
Mhm.
we know that they are insulin resistant, obviously strength training is the best prescription to improve that the fastest. The GLPs obviously help to lower the visceral fat at a faster rate than what I've ever seen in my entire life working at multiple clinics. But I would tell them, the high fiber and high protein is essential to keep in your diet at every meal if you can, because that's going to help to keep your levels steady through the day, and prevent the ups and downs and whatnot. But it's even if you have a steady level and you're not in a caloric deficit, you won't lose body fat. Like I had a dentist appointment one day and I was in so much pain that I didn't eat anything for the rest of the day. And then the next day I ate back those calories, so even though that one day was it's the average over the week, and I wasn't trying to lose body fat that week, and I did, because of that. But so it's not, you don't want the level to be flat continuously, but you just don't want major spikes because a lot of people will not feel great with those
So that's what you're really trying to avoid, is the glucose spikes.
huge spikes. Yeah, and
You're going to get some,
Yeah.
with the meals,
Yeah.
but you're trying not to let them get right. And so that's giving them the feedback that, okay, I documented in the app what I ate,
Mhm.
and then here's how it affected that,
Right.
my blood sugar at that time.
Right.
And then you can look at it and go, and how do you interpret that? So they get,
Yeah.
let's just say, they had a teriyaki bowl, right?
Yeah.
And they get a big spike, and they go, well, I had a lot, I had a bunch of protein in there.
And so I would look at the rest of the day and their overall calories and ask them how they felt and their performance. And then we'd look at their body comp, in a couple weeks total. But if they have less of a spike with the rice in the bowl versus, let's say they really like sandwiches,
Mhm.
and the bread gives them less of a spike, which you'd think a piece of bread is the worst thing you could do, a piece of white bread. It's going to make you spike all the way to the ceiling and not lose any body fat. But if not as bad as that, then you would just shift that. And that's counterintuitive to what diet culture, I think, suggests usually. Or like a sweet potato versus a regular potato, brown rice versus white rice. I didn't notice any difference in mine.
Okay.
It was the same. So, but other people might. And so you just adjust the types of carbs a little bit here and there. But I can also tell, if if you're not logging your food and you have spikes, or if your spike is really high and you say you just had like a gummy bear or two, I know you're not telling the full truth. So
Okay.
there's that too, holding you accountable.
Well, but for somebody who's pre-diabetic or diabetic, they're walking around with higher blood sugar.
Right.
So that little 1 or 2 gummy bears is
Going to be
a lot more
Right.
than it would be for you or I.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so they don't eat as much. You're correct. And the other interesting thing though, I did experiment with meals that were 0 carb or just a couple veggies, higher in fat, and I still got a spike,
Oh,
which we know, fat can, not as much as carbohydrates, but it still does give you a spike. So even if you don't eat any carbs and you're in a caloric surplus, theoretically, you can still store body fat from that. And your body gluconeogenesis can turn protein into carbs if it needs to. But so there's no really safe food that will prevent any gain, even if, the spikes, regardless of what's
water.
Yeah. Well, plain water. Yes. But yeah, so it's I think it's vital for every person who's trying to lose body fat in general, or who's pre-diabetic, or who is on GLP, to be also on one of these. And it's only 2 weeks, and you can't even feel it.
And so in those 2 weeks, it gives you enough data
Yeah.
that you can help design,
Mhm.
A better dietary program for them.
Yeah.
Because you know what they were eating, you know what the response was. So then you say, this is something you should avoid. This is something you can embrace,
Mhm. Yeah.
within reason.
Yep.
Right. That, along with resting metabolic rate, VO2 max testing, DEXA,
Mhm.
our in-body. You got a lot of objective measurements to really help guide that weight loss and ensure that we're losing storage, body fat,
Yeah.
and visceral fat, but it's storage, and then maintaining, if not improving, lean muscle mass. And I think we've talked about that aspect and the importance of resistance training and right.
And I know there is obviously a correlation, and unfortunately I couldn't see it in mine because I have 0.0 pounds of visceral fat.
Right.
But as that comes down, your insulin spikes in theory would not be as high or you could eat more carbohydrates and get away with it. But also experimenting with going for like a walk after you eat to see if it brings down your spike faster. It should, because your body
Theoretically it should, right? I mean, this would give you objective data to know that it did. So you could eat a meal and not go for a walk, see what that looks like, and the next night or whatever, eat the exact same meal and go for the walk. And then you could see, man, the benefits for walking for 10 to 15 minutes after a meal are massive. And you can see it in yourself. And I mean, I've been telling patients, like, I don't have enough time to do cardio and workout and this and that. I said, well, what if you just walk for 10 to 15 minutes after each meal? That's not a lot of time to ask for. We can carve that out. And at the end of the day, if you eat 3 meals a day, you're now looking at 30 to 45 minutes of cardio that you didn't carve out for one session. And it actually works better. So you can actually be a little bit more intense. You can get a little bit better results from that cardio in that short burst window.
Yeah. And I think people also have the misconception that they need to actually go for a walk. And if you live here in Vegas, obviously it's blisteringly hot outside, so it might not always be ideal, or you can use that as an excuse very easily.
Mhm.
But just call a friend and walk around, pace your living room for 10 minutes. That's it. That's all you need to do.
There you go.
And then no excuse.
My house is not that hot early in the morning, but not everybody likes to get up early in the morning. Not everybody can get up. Some people are getting off of work. There's if there's a will, there's a way. But it is just something to consider, doing some type of exercise for 10 to 15 minutes. And our point being, it can be low impact, such as a walk. It doesn't need to be, I'm going to do 10 minutes of push-ups and pull-ups, because you're not going to do 10 minutes of push-ups and pull-ups.
Some people do. Yeah, no. Most
Yeah,
people don't.
probably not, especially if you can do a push-up a second. Most people can't do 60, so and so they're not going to do 600.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
But again, just hey, and if you're going to do something like this, you can see if you want to do push-ups and you want to do X amount in a time frame in that 10 minutes. You say, I'm going to do push-ups for 10 push-ups. Here's one. Do 10 push-ups a minute for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's 100 push-ups, but it's only 10 push-ups, right?
Yep.
So, or if you can't do 10, do 5. That's still 50 push-ups in 10 minutes that you're not doing. Watch and see.
Yep.
I did I just thought of that because I read a kettlebell thing, and it said do 10 kettlebell swings a minute it was 20 or 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you do the 10 kettlebell swings, and you're like, that's nothing the first minute. And then at the end of it, it was something. And then I couldn't move for 3 days. It was ridiculous, right?
Yep.
But, so you can take that window of 10 minutes and do something as mundane as that, a simple movement. And if you're like, well, I'm in my work clothes, I don't want to wrinkle them or whatever. I mean, right? Do an isometric, of some sort, which if you're not familiar with what I'm saying, it's just you're pushing like this. This is isometric, right? And you're still just stimulating the muscles, and you just, push as hard, get into a split squat stance and see if you can hold it for a minute with one leg, and then come up, take a couple minute rest and do the other leg. I did 2 minutes of exercise in that 10 minutes, but I'll bet you for the vast majority of people that are listening to this, you won't be able to do a split squat or a lunge stance with your bottom knee about that high off the ground and hold it for 1 minute. If you can, great. But for most of us, I mean, you're working muscle strength, but you're working your stability, your balance. So stuff like that is huge.
Yeah. And even, I might be a weirdo, but if I'm just sitting at my desk, I will randomly flex certain muscle groups and just hold it for like 30 seconds, 10 seconds. And that's the easiest thing to do. And even like fidgeting and whatnot actually contributes to your overall total caloric burn for the day. So a lot of people think that that's, you need to get up and actually do a cardio session. You have to do these little things that are easy.
That's why I have the gripper at my desk.
Yeah, that's it.
We have the hand strengtheners, and
Yep.
I do 10 reps, and then I hold it for 10 seconds, and I switch hand.
Yep.
Supposedly it helps lower your blood pressure. I don't know if that's true or not. I never.
Well, if you're stressed out with that.
Yeah, I guess. So
Yeah.
but so there's some tricks that without saying oh, you got to go work out for 30 minutes, you can do little intermittent things throughout the day. And there's data to suggest those are called exercise snacks. And there's data to suggest that if you do a half hour of exercise snacks throughout the day, it's actually better than doing an hour-long workout in one session. So, you there's no excuse that you don't have enough time. That's my point. If you want it, you'll find a way to do it.
Yeah. And if you have a pet, a dog, play fetch with him 10 minutes and race him to the ball.
Yeah, but and that's nice free play time, and it's
Mhm.
and doing stuff like that keeps you limber, keeps the body doing what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
I'm afraid to sprint. You know, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt something, so I got to start working back at that. I've played around with it a little bit, but as I get healthier in my joints,
Play tug of war with your
I do.
King Corso.
Yeah, but he's only 70 pounds now, so he
Only.
loses. Yeah. Well, my previous guy was 140 pounds, and when we played tug of war with him,
It's a human.
it was and so he didn't let go, and I would just hold him up here and just see for as long as I could hold.
Yeah. That's
And then he starts shaking his head, and now you're like, oh, I got to keep my core tight, and
Yep.
with my shoulders, that would make them hurt, and I was, oh, but it's fun, and they, listen, that animal loves it. It's just this, they don't want to just lay around and look at you all day.
right. It's a more incentive. If you can make making a new habit, anything that you can make more enticing or enjoyable or less effort, is going to be more likely to be sustainable and consistent. So, and the other cool part I was going to mention real quick about this
I want to get back onto these.
is the cost. It's very, very cost efficient. So if you want to come in and get one from us, $60, 2 weeks, and then you just replace if you want to just put a new one on. But really, 2 weeks tells you a lot of data. So it's,
And then you'll be available to kind of discuss that data with them.
Yeah.
That's just for the cost of the machine.
Yeah.
She's really expensive. She's not as cost efficient as the machine, but no. So if you're interested in getting continuous glucose monitor, come in and see us. We've got the video to show you how easy it is to apply. We're going to put up some data on the app itself so you can just see how easy it is to interpret and understand. And then if you need some guidance on there, Paige is available to help walk you through this and show you different things that you can do. But man, it's a lot of it's so intuitive as you're looking at it. Not counterintuitive, very intuitive. You say, I ate this. There's my blood sugar. Oh man, probably shouldn't be eating whatever that was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'll take some screenshots of the app because it is really cool. Truly, you can in real time in a matter of minutes. It changes continuously. So, and you can see the trend if it's at 85, let's say, with an up arrow, you're on the way up and on the way down. And then to each individual's, determines how fast of which. But yeah, it's really great data. And I wish I had tried it sooner. I will say that. Even though I'm an athlete and don't necessarily need it, but I wish I had done it sooner.
I think need is kind of a nuanced word in this sense, because they say, well, only a diabetic really needs it. But man, the amount of data that you can gather from this to really help guide your nutrition decisions, how you respond to exercise, most of us don't know that. So I think the first point you brought out was brilliant, that you realize that when you train, your blood sugar bottoms out. A lot of people, they get a spike, so.
Yeah. And I do train. I keep my rest time really low on purpose. And I train with very high intensity. And I knew that. But I just thought, sorry to swear, but I just kept telling myself, all right, don't be a pussy. Just keep pushing through.
How is pussy a swear word? It's short for pusillanimous, which means weak. It has nothing to do with female genitalia. So anybody that uses that term and they say, oh, that's sexist, they don't understand the English language. It's short for pusillanimous, which means weak, undecisive. There's your education lesson in English for today.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. I also have a degree in English, so just
Well, I like to cuss and use that stuff, so I try to find all the excuses I can so I can validate it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But yeah, I'd come in, grab one from us, and like you said, I know it's not a need thing, but it's so valuable. information that everyone should really try it.
Very good.
So
Anything else you want to share with us on this before we wrap this up?
I will say for endurance athletes specifically, and even fighters, you can, before you get to the point where you start dropping, if you experiment and know, exactly how many grams of glucose at a certain, let's say you're a cyclist, like wattage or your RPM, whatever, and you're doing a certain type of training, you know exactly how many ounces of water and then glucose grams to add every hour so you don't crash.
Oh, for like the endurance athletes that like to
Yeah.
run
So
these things that begin with the letter M or UM,
Yeah.
even those folks,
Ultra. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Marathon, triathlete, whatever it is. But even a fighter too, because a lot of people have the mental fortitude and, they just push through, but you could be pushing through with more strength and you just don't know it.
Well, I mean, I think it's inherent in a lot of professional athletes, but I think in fighters in particular, to have a tendency to overtrain. And where we see that is in some of these individuals, they'll come in and they'll have low hormone levels. Now, I need hormone replacement. No, you're overtraining. And so when we catch them in the off season, everything's back to normal. And so you really have to look at that, and maybe something like this could prevent that drop in hormones by not allowing the blood sugar to bottom out so much.
Yeah. And there's one question I wanted to leave with people, which we basically summarized in all this is, if you could see how every single meal, every workout, every stressful event in your life, even every night of sleep affects your body in real time, what would you change?
Right. Well, I guess you'd have to see that data to have the answer.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know until you know.
So very good. Well, I think we did something here. So if you guys have questions or interest in utilizing and obtaining a continuous glucose monitor, give us a call, 702-838-1994. You can reach us on our website at www.agelessforever.net. We'll be happy to help you in your health journey. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you for the next episode.
See you guys.